What's happening, everybody? Welcome to a new character guide for June in Tekken Tag 2. I just had the thought recently, for no particular reason, that people might be interested in some older Tekken these days. So I figured I'd take a look at the guide video, which isn't that old. I made the first guide before Tekken 8 came out when June was announced, just to see if people wanted to go back and check her out. So it hasn't been that long, and obviously nothing has changed in this game in the last year. So there's a little bit of a different format. It's still going to be two videos, one of the moves and strategy and one just for combos, but I think it'll be a little bit more of a flow and less redundancy this time. So June is a very versatile mix-up character. She doesn't have to live and die all or nothing the way some other characters do. Characters like Anna or Eddie or Lei, for example, they do all their crazy spinning and flipping and everything, and they get huge rewards, but they can also get clapped. June doesn't have to play that way, nor should she. She's got a lot more flexibility than some of these other characters do. So you can do your crazy stancy shenanigans and stuff like that, but you don't have to go all or nothing. You can play a much more solid defensive game. So the ideal sort of game plan is simple but creative use of all of the basic stuff that you have. You have nice simple pokes. Some of them have a few little twists and turns built in, some extra hit follow-ups and stuff like that. But you want to play a simple poking hit and run standard type of game, and every so often unleash something new. Try something different every time you come in. Don't just do the same down forward one and then low every single time. Use lots of different tools and try to change up what you do every time. Go for a harder mix-up like Izumo stance launcher every so often. You don't have to go for that every time. So the goal is to use a ton of tools, be unpredictable. That way when you do force harder mix-ups, they cannot anticipate it correctly. There's no way they're going to defend right. Do not overextend yourself. That's another big key here. Is because there are risks in a lot of what you do, you have several strings that have inherent mix-ups to them, right? And they can guess those right and hurt you for it. Meanwhile, the rewards are not great for June in a lot of these things, so don't overextend yourself. If you're just poking and hitting and whatever and it's not getting through, just back off. You're much better off to retreat a little bit than you are to overextend yourself and get punished for it. Mid-range is still really good for June. Backing off and hanging out here for a little bit, totally fine. Her defensive options are really, really good. She's got Miracle Get Off Me move, she's got a parry, and she's got some excellent long-range tools to control that space as well. So even though you're out here, you're not on your heels. You can kind of still control what they do through fear of, your excellent range. So always retreat and back off, play a little defense rather than overextend your offense. You don't have to gamble that hard, and it'll still work out just fine. So the choice is yours if you want to lean a little more offensive or defensively, but to be honest, a good balance of both is what really pays off the best. So let's take a look at her basic moves and how they kind of fit into this. I want to start with just basic poking tools. And right away, your jab is your most primary poking tool in this game. She has 1-1, she has 1-2, 1-3, and 1-4. All of those are just ridiculous. There's stuff cooked in everywhere. So your basic jab immediately, right out of the box, has offense built into it. It's not just using your jab to set up other stuff. 1-1 goes into this that we call Whiplash that has other options. Right? There's tons of things out of that. There's even a low when you do this. So 1-1 has a built-in pseudo stance, I want to call it. You have options from that point, but there's not an animation for it. It's kind of just a quick little mini stance. 1-2 gives you access to your full stances. You can go into Izumo from this, you can go into Genjitsu, and you can sidestep. There's several strings that all do that, but 1-2, your 1-2 jab doing that is really good. Block or hit makes a little bit of a difference. If they're blocking this, you don't necessarily want to go for it all. You want to do that retreat that we talked about sometimes. But 1-2 getting instant offense is incredible. 1-3 is just to mess with their timing a little bit. This is not a natural combo. They can always block that low, but odds are they won't. Same with this one. If you do 1-4, you can catch them every once in a while, and 4 also has its own sort of pseudo stance built into it. There's options that go from there. So you sort of have offense out of that low, but a lot of players might be looking for that. It's not a great place to do it, but if you're keeping them off rhythm, if you're doing a good job of poke and stick and move and occasionally throw these in, that might be a good place to go for it. So your jab has offense built in. That's pretty exceptional, to be honest. Otherwise, you have 2-1, the other string, This is pretty decent. It does damage. I'm going to use it as a punisher. And the follow-ups are not amazing, but they're not bad either. They can interrupt that one, they can duck the other one, but the odds of them doing so are kind of whatever. If you're just doing this to poke with, you know, you sidestep and you do that, and you do it a lot, every so often you might want to just throw this out there and see if they challenge you, right? It's just good to check them sometimes. But beware that they can duck if they know what they're doing. Or they just guessed, right? Sometimes just being lucky is better than knowing what you're doing. Down forward 1-1. This is not a natural combo, but it's safe to do so, so it doesn't really matter. If you just do basic down forward ones all day, you can eventually throw in the second one here and there just to kind of, you know, mess with timing. Not a big deal. But down forward 1 basically just works as a generic poke in that regard. Keeps them nice and close, has a follow-up just to mess with timing. Down forward 4, similar, generic mid poke, but this is a defensive version. This one keeps them farther away, kind of lets you tag them and then get out of there real quick. Down forward 4 is fairly generic, but good at what it does. A nice little rangy, distancey poke. Down forward 2 is a homing move, which is relatively fast. This is pretty decent. Down forward 2, this is a natural combo, but it's unsafe, and I don't know if it's worth doing that second hit in neutral. Use it in combos maybe, but as far as like just your poking game or whatever, keep them from sidestepping. Down forward 2 is enough. It's a mid and it's homing. I wouldn't bother risking the second hit. Because this, if they block this, they have easy time punishing. It's not like too fast to read or anything. A little bit risky. Forward 4, however, is another homing move. Its only drawback being a high, but it is +3 on block, and this is a launcher. As long as the angle is just right, you can get a whole combo off of that forward 4. It's a little bit particular sometimes. It's not always consistent, but you'll learn when you practice it a little bit. A little micro dash and 1+4, and it's actually pretty easy. So a +3 natural launcher. It's an excellent homing move. It's just a high. So if you're worried about ducking and sidestepping, you have down forward 2 to back it up. That's it. A couple other simple pokes. Down back 1-2 is a natural combo. Down back 1-4 is not. But that second hit is a counter hit launcher. So if you kind of just throw this out once in a while, again, just like down forward 1, down back 1 is the same thing. If you just use it by yourself and occasionally throw that out, you might catch them. Again, the risk is not really in her favor. They can punish that, and they can duck that. So the best you get out of it is a counter hit. It's not great. Not great, but it's there. Back 4-2 is a pretty good all-around poke. You're going to use this in punishment game, but it's hit confirmable. There's a nice delay where you can see it, hit them in the face, and then press the second button. So you're never really going to get caught with this on block, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you are throwing it out little by little, that delay will counter hit launch people. If they press a button in before that too, they can get launched for that. So maybe you throw that out once in a while. I also want to mention throws in your basic poking game. Throws are really good to just kind of keep everybody honest. They're fast, they're hard to break, etc. She has a couple command throws. There's down forward 1+2. There's down forward 2+3. Bang. And then she has a crouch throw. From full crouch, it's a little bit hard to do. Down forward. Whenever you're crouching and you tap down forward, see how they do that little crawl there? You do that twice, and then you press 1+2. That throws a launcher. She gets a whole combo if they don't break that. The whole combo off a throw is pretty nice to have. So that's basic pokes. That's how you move around. You know, one jabs have offense built in, as we talked about, and we'll cover way more of the offense later. But as a basic pokey system, your jab is excellent. Your little toe taps and pokes and whatnot, pretty solid. Not a huge variety. You don't need things. You got a down forward 1 and a down forward 4, a little bit of space control. You got a homing launcher, and you got some tricky little strings that might catch them napping once in a while. That's it. I don't think the options are super great for June, but if you're mixing them up sparingly, you should be okay, and the opponent's not going to know what's coming. Keeping them off balance is more important than getting punished here and there. Just watch out for it, right? If they're good at punishing, don't overextend these. Just stick to single hits and move on. If they're not reacting well, then yeah, you can party a little bit and go for the extra hit sometimes. It's up to you. Some of your bigger hits that aren't necessarily pokey, but just throw them out once in a while, do a poke, and then do something like this. You have this 3+4. It's just a nice little knockdown that jumps over lows. This is a pretty cool all-around move. It's kind of a signature thing for June, these cartwheely kicks. 3+4 is pretty neat. So is up 4, straight up 4, not forward. 8 plus right kick. Up 4 does this. You get follow-up off of it. This is a safe jumping mid. This is a pretty cool move all around to just throw in. One of these, like I said, you're just doing the middle of the offense, and boom, you might catch people. No risk. Down forward 3, you get this knockdown. It looks like she's going to go under jabs and highs. She does not. She She tends to get caught by all of those things. It's just a weird animation for it. Down forward 3 is still pretty good. It's one of your few reliable wall splatting moves. Most of these things do not wall splat. Even natural combos like that, there's very few wall splats in her game that are mid. This is one you're going to rely on. When you have wall pressure, this is a big go-to. So down forward 3 is pretty good for that big hit. Again, not much of a poke, right? Once you do this and they block it, like that's it. You're on defense now, but still good to throw in there. The rest are your forward moves. Forward 2-3. I've never seen anybody duck that. If they do, forward 2-2 is a mid. And again, it's one of those situations where she's unsafe on the mid, she can duck on the high. I don't know how often people do that. I don't know how often people ever duck that string. So I tend to get away with it a lot. So I like it. But maybe other people, man, my buddy ducks that all the time. I have to do this. And every time I do this, he guesses right and punishes me for that. So it's up to you. Again, that's like the 5th time we've seen these mix-ups are not great for June's favor, but you kind of have to do them once in a while just for the honesty. The forward 2 and its extensions are pretty decent and rangy. Forward 3, very long-range homing move. Much more useful out at mid-range, but if you're just kind of like doing your thing, you can stick that in there once in a while. It's a safe mid that knocks down and is tracking. Forward 1+2 is big and slow and dumb, but this is a safe launcher. That's just a launcher straight up, safe on block mid. Gotta love it. Kind of hard to work that in every so often. It is slow, but it's worth it. So to step up pressure on them and keep them off guard, you need lows. They have no reason to duck. They can just stand here and block mid-highs all day. You keep annoying them with lows, they're going to have to act. 1+4 is pretty good in this game. You have this low that leads into stance options and everything. We'll talk about that more later. But this move has a lot of good uses. Quick little low to get started with. Down 3 is pretty good. Keeps them nice and close, even though you don't technically have advantage here. One of the differences is her lows are not like oppressive. They're not like one of those lows where like you're paralyzed for a second. They can act pretty quickly here. You're not like piling it on with this, but they get annoyed by lows. They're not quite sure what the next decision to make is, right? Like you're jabbing this and that low, boom. They're just not thinking clearly when you annoy them correctly. So down 3 is good for that. So is down 4. Don't ever do the high. There's no reason to ever do that high. It requires a counter hit. And if they come running at you 1,000 miles an hour and you know you're going to counter hit them, you got better things you could do. Just don't do it. Down 4 by itself is all that you need. Your down back moves are where it's at, though. Down back 2 takes just a second, but that will go under some highs. This one does give you a nice advantage. This is +2 on hit, so you do have a little bit of a frame advantage to act off of that one on hit, which is worth it. Down back 3, pretty similar, forces you both into crouch, but this is a lot riskier. It's a much bigger low, but it's worth using. And down back 4, kind of slow, but as we talked about, this has a stance, basically. There's options out of this move and loops and stuff that you could do off of down back 4. So those are all pretty good lows to mix in with your game. They move the game into a crouching mode for both you and them. So like when you start getting hit with this, they start thinking about other crouch moves, which like that. That's a big one. Full crouch down forward 2, can't get enough of that. That's a very, very dangerous move. So that's going to like dominate their thoughts. When they start seeing lows and crouch state come out, that changes it up a little bit. That lets you annoy them even further by making them do that, by forcing them into crouch states. And we talked about you have strings with lows in them, like 1-3 and 1-4. Those are pretty good for mixing up that tempo again. Throw those lows and annoy people. So, not a ton of rewards out of your basic poke system, which there shouldn't be. These are the that help you control the ebb and flow of battle. You want to stay up close and pressure. You want to back off and buy yourself some time. These are the ones that you use to set up other things. The more you keep getting away with this, the more you can go for bigger and better stuff. They annoy your opponent, they cause bad decisions, and they really let your true offense shine after that. Offense and pressuring your opponent. A big factor is frame advantage. Pretty much everything on hit gives you the advantage afterward. You recover faster than they do, and you can attack them again. Right? This is +4, I think it is. 4 frames faster. That means a lot. It means if you both mash your jab, June will win every single time. She's faster in this situation. So generally on hit, you have the advantage, and on block, they have the advantage. That's the ebb and flow of the game. Usually whenever you block something, you have the advantage over them, and it's your turn to attack. It's not always written in stone, and the game moves quickly, so there's a ton of like variations around it. But frame advantage is a big deal. Whenever, like we said, this one is +2 on hit. This one is negative, and none of the other ones are plus. Technically, these are like 0 or a little bit negative. It's your opponent's turn after this, but do they know that, right? Do they want to challenge you after just getting hit? That's kind of the rule. When you get hit, you don't press buttons. A lot of the lows, however, do not grant that advantage. Down back 2 does. So anytime you land a hit, you have the advantage to press on for the most part. Everything has counterplay, etc. But that advantage really goes a long way. So I want to talk about moves like forward 4, which are +3 on block. You don't have to land a hit for this one. At this situation, your jab is guaranteed to win. In this situation, your 4 kick is guaranteed to win. They cannot interrupt you there. They'll get counter hit if they try. So those are really, really good. Not only for that counter hit risk, but to teach them, you stop challenging my offense, right? You need to just stand there and chill and let me do what I'm going to do, or else you face the consequences. So frame trapping is really good for that. That +3 on block is very good. So is sidestep 4. Sidestep 4 on block is even better. Forces the crouch plus frames. They are just debilitated by that. You can do this all day long, right? Just little steps, little steps. It's a slow move, so if I keep doing that move, you can interrupt it. But every time I do this and then that, you're going to get blasted for it. Those are your primary frame traps. There's not a ton in this game on block. Those are just about it. The other one is the Izumo strike. This spinny punch, as long as they don't duck it, is always plus when it makes contact and goes into Izumo stance. So that's a pretty good way to get offense started. You're just out here chilling and you do that, boom, +8 or whatever, and here comes the stance, you know? That's pretty awesome. Otherwise, forward 4 and sidestep 4 are really good for frame trapping and letting you go further down your offensive chain instead of just like stick and move, stick and move. At that point, you can move in a little bit harder. Some mix-up tools that are useful in all of this. Strings that have options or that give you basic things to work with right away. We just talked about forward 1 +2. Gets you into your Izumo stance immediately, and you have all those options. That's great. That's just free offense right there. As long as they block it, +7. They get hit, like +8. You can just party however you want to in that stance. Go for it. Genjitsu is the same. Genjitsu doesn't have an impact, but it goes right into stance. So if you feel like it, you can kind of just go for that. It's a little bit slower, to be honest, but it's not that bad. You're going to use this out of transitions a little bit more. Like that is a little bit more reliable than just doing raw Genjitsu, but it is a way to get into your offense and get some stance there. You have 4 strings. 1, 2, back 2, 1, forward 3, and 1 +4. All of these have the same properties in that they let you transition into your 2 major stances and sidestep. If you press forward 1, 2, Izumo. You press back 1 +2, Genjitsu. If you press up or down, sidestep. These all do that. Forward 3 into sidestep. Right? Forward 3 into sidestep. 1 +4, Genjitsu. Back 2, 1, Izumo. All 4 strings have all 3 of those options. So those are huge to get your offense going. On block, it's a little different, like we talked about. Whenever you get your moves blocked, you generally can't just keep going. That includes transitioning into stances for the most part. That's what makes Izumo good, is you can still keep going on block pretty reliably. All the other ones, you sort of need the hit. If you didn't get the hit, you maybe back off a little bit. But those are amazing mix-up tools. All 4 of those strings get you into both of your primary stances and sidestep. Forward 3 sidestep into this, and you get this game going on 1 +4 sidestep into that. And if they happen to whiff, bang, you just hit them with that, right? Knock them down. If during their sidestep they challenge you, boom, you get a knockdown hit off of that. So you get huge options right away. We mentioned back 2, 1 in this situation here. This is a high string, a mid-high string that people are going to know how to duck. This has been around for a long time. Players learned how to duck this pretty readily. But you have back 2, 1, 1 and back 2, 1, 4. And you even have back 2, 4, which is a low. However, if they're ready to duck back 2, 1, they're just going to be blocking that low interest, automatically. So you do have back 2, 3, which is a mid that'll stop people from ducking. But the whole thing, I think, just sucks. I think it's bad. That mid is like -18, so if they actually don't do anything, they get a huge punish off of that. And otherwise, they duck this high and they launch you every time you go for it. You get almost nothing out of this. Good players are going to duck this. Maybe they'll give her a good mid option in a future game, hint, hint. So back 2, 1, in my opinion, is kind of just crap. Forward 3 does everything better. I like forward 3 the best out of all. The only difference is that back 2, 1 is slower, so you got a bit of a extra time to make your decision there. Forward 3 and 1, 2 kind of make you act a little quicker. That's it. Otherwise, back 2, 1 is way too much liability. All these options they can just duck at a mid that's not worth it. That's not a good enough reason to justify all this. So I don't like that string. Forward 3 I think is better. Forward 3 into Izumo, boom. Forward 3 into Genjitsu, boom. I think that's just way better. You just have to play a little bit quicker to do it. If you want to use back 2-1 once in a while, throw it out there and see how they react. If they duck it, don't do that move ever again. Stick to your other ones. We just talked about the crouching state is also important. You have a couple of interesting moves out of here other than just basic punishers. While standing 1-4 is pretty solid, that on hit forces them into crouch for no reason other than just to annoy them. And it has its own set of follow-ups too. You got a mid there, and you have a low. So that's kind of cool to maybe go for once in a while from this crouching state. You know, hit him with this and bop, bop. While standing 1+2, though, is one of the big crown jewels. This is a mid. It's safe. It works from downtown. That move has got so much range. And she can press down to cancel it back into crouch. Kind of interesting. That makes them hesitate no matter what. They're going to take a second and be like, what is she going to do there? And it costs them time, right? They can't afford that. You hopefully, well, you're counting on that. You're counting on them to hesitate for just a second so you can get away with doing this, whatever you want to do after that point. But that's a really good tool. Combine that with the down forward 2, which is a low counter hit launcher. This is a mid counter hit launcher. You're in business. You're really going to make them nuts. If every time they try to like, okay, she's crouching, surely I can just hit her. Nope, you're wrong. I can just duck jab her out if she does. If she duck jabs, she has this. Full crouch, 3+4, 3. If you press 3, she does it again. That beats duck jab attempts. Really good arsenal. There's a list of moves that go into crouch, like down back 4 and you continue to hold down. Down back 2 does it automatically. Those are in the Google Doc, which you definitely should check out. A list of just all of these moves leave you in the crouching state. Counter hits. They're trying to block correctly. They're trying to maybe sidestep out of a mix-up. But when you're doing all this loopity-loop stuff and they're just, I don't know what to do here, they're going to just, fuck it, I'm just going to hit her, right? That's your only choice sometimes, is try to hit her and stop it. So when that happens and they make bad decisions, you get counter hits. So you want to be aware of moves that you have that you can just throw out the fish for counter hits, right? Every time you hit them with like this low thing, they don't do anything well, boom. Or they're like the type that's willing to hop kick when that's really bad. And every time you hit them with something, they try to hop kick on their own. Go for counter hits. So some of your good offensive counter hits are down 2. This move will force them into crouch. Even on block, it's a forced crouch. It's not technically plus frames, but I think it makes them hesitate for a second because they're in crouch. They have limited options. So if that didn't work out in your favor and you didn't get your counter hit, you still have that crouch situation, which is slightly in their favor numerically, but I think a little bit in your favor mentally. You have up forward 3. This is a little bit better at mid-range, but if you're landing hits like this, right, anytime you get them with a hit, you've got time to just go for it. Boom. Up forward 3 is a nice, safe mid counter hit. Even better, and arguably one of the best counter hits in the game, is down 3+4. This move is a 14-frame startup. It's airborne most of the time, and anything that makes that second hit connect, including the counter hit, is a launcher. So this beats lows, it's a low itself, and it's ultra fast. This is one of the ultimate get-off-me tools in the entire game. Down 3+4 can kicks is incredibly reliable. The only risk is if they happen to choose duck in the middle of playing for some reason, they can duck under that high. But as long as the low makes contact, they cannot. It will jail. So the only threat is a random duck. Other than that, this is one of the best counter hits moves in the game. Fantastic utility. You also have this out of your Izumo stance by just pressing 3+4. Same functionality there. Tremendous counter hit. Designed to just beat any one of their options. You can do this anywhere for free and suffer almost no consequences and just get nothing but rewards. We talked about while standing 1+2 is a mid and full crouch down forward 2. These lows. These are some of your best offensive counter hits. When you're doing stuff like this and you go for another low, when you do leg cutters or whatever, and go for the mids, you have 2 excellent counter hit launchers. While standing 1+2, which also cancels and goes right into a loop again, and full crouch down forward 2, launches into a whole combo. Genjitsu 3 is a counter hit launcher. So if they do press the wrong opportunity, like, oh, every time she does this crap and goes into stance, I'm just going to jab her. Well, that blows up most of their jab attempts. Genjitsu 3, really good counter hit launcher. Izumo also has a counter hit in 3+4, but they're going to know pretty quickly, just don't press buttons against Izumo. This jumping spin kick, just don't press buttons. They're going to feel that right away. But if they don't learn that lesson, right, counter hit city. That's what offensive counter hits are for. Last one, sidestep 4. We talked about how much you're using this to just dump on people. If you catch that counter hit, it's a launcher, which is amazing, right? That's a huge reward. Not even just a hit when they get frustrated. You get a counter hit launcher? Hooray. And then if they don't, you get your +4 on block and extended offense. 1-1 we mentioned from the very top. This is called Whiplash, which is sort of a pseudo stance that she has. But again, right off a jab, you got a stance mix-up. Boom, right there. Very cool. 1-1 and just forward 1. Forward 1 by itself does the exact same thing there. Same data and all that's the same animation. It's just a 1-hit version instead of a 2-hit version. 1-2, forward 3, and 1+4. You can do sidestep into all of those. As I mentioned, if they did something and whiffs, bang, you hit them with that. If they didn't do anything, tag them with this and continue your offense. That's an all you need right there. That's annoying enough. If they don't do anything and they just have to sit there and keep holding this all day, you're going to do just fine. 1-2 and forward 3. If you want to go into a Genjitsu stance, you kind of need to hit. If it gets blocked and goes into stance, your options are limited. They can kind of just smack you real quick. So you got to be careful there. That is an advantage of back 2-1, is you can see, oh, I did get the hit, let me go into Genjitsu, or, oh no, it was blocked, let me just do nothing, for example. Forward 3 doesn't quite offer you that luxury, so it does have that one merit, so be careful. Genjitsu works a lot better if they got hit. So you can see things like, oh, I'll just stick to 1-2. 1-2 I'm going to punish with, right? This is my jab. I'll just do this into Genjitsu. Every time I want to punish with a jab, there's my Genjitsu. That's all I need. And if I get blocked, I'll just do nothing. But into Izumo is always your turn. All 3 of those strings, 1-2, into Izumo, as long as they don't duck that high. That high is the way into stance. So they can duck it if they're anticipating you doing that. If they see 1-2 and they duck, you're in trouble. Otherwise, as long as that makes contact, you're always significantly plus and you can do whatever you want. They can't really challenge that. So as far as these stances go, Genjitsu is really straightforward. You just have 1, which is a low, doesn't really do much else. You have 2, which is a mid, doesn't do much else. 3 is a mid. This one's a counter hit launcher. Genjitsu 3 gets you a whole combo, which is very nice because, as we just talked about, if you get the hit and go into stance, they can't challenge that. When these moves make contact, you have a ton of frame advantage, and if they challenge you, they'll get counter hit by that 3 every single time. They cannot do it. They can try to sidestep the stance or whatever, but if they counterattack you right here, boom, launcher city for them. And your last option is 4, which is homing, and it's a high +4. This is very similar to your forward 4 out in the open. Again, 4 is just a little bit better frame advantage, but it's the same concept. It's a nice frame trap. That's all you got. So Genjitsu just leads you to a low, a convenient simple low, convenient simple mid, counter hit launching mid that's safe, and a big frame trapping high. That's all you need. That high, if you land that, you can just go right back into offense again. They can't do anything at +4. +4 is a ton in this game. You can go right back into more offense and start annoying them again. So that just sets you up for sort of a loop, so to speak. That +4 lets you, kick it off again. Oh, you're just going to stand there and block? Okay, well, let me just do it again. You want to keep blocking? I'll just do it again. And eventually they got to do something different, right? So Genjitsu is really simple. Izumo is a lot more robust, which is cool because it's more guaranteed. It's riskier to get into. Right off the bat, it's risky because the only way into that stance is this, and it's always a high. So you do have to undergo that risk of, yes, this is high. Failing that, as long as that made contact, the stance is uninterruptible for the most part. They can't do anything to challenge you. They got to hold that. So you get a lot more stuff you can play with in there. You have 1-2 jabs, which are pretty nice. It's never a combo. That move is never going to connect as a combo, but the last hit by itself, that's a counter hit launcher. It's a little bit weird to pick up, and you're never, ever going to see that, but it is there. Izumo 1-2, just a quick little jab string. It's safe. It forces them to crouch as well. And you can also do 1-4, which is a jab string into low. That low is the one that we've talked about before that has another pseudo stance built into it. So right away, your Izumo can just lead you into further pressure. You don't even have to go for a big reward. You can just go right back into looping stuff again. Right? Those are all your choices in there. You have 1+2, which is a big heavy mid. Also safe on block and forces them into crouch. So that's really good all around. You get a knockdown on counter hit, etc. Pretty good move to have. Your big tool out of this thing, though, is your 2. Your 2 is a really evasive, big wind-up launcher. That thing launches them into the sky. You get a whole combo from it. Minus a gajillion on block, but that's what you run the risk for. 3 is pretty similar. 3 is the dragon wheel kick. It's the same concept. It's a launcher. It's just not as big a launcher. Payoff's not as big and the risk is not as big, but it's just another mid launcher that's pretty evasive. Tie that all together though, however, is Izumo 4-1. You have a hell sweep. Bang, bang. Does a nice chunk of damage, knocks him down. Super bad on block. So your big mid versus low mix up in Izumo, big mid launcher, a slightly less big launcher, and then you have a big hard low knockdown. That's the risky mix up that's in there. And if you don't want to go for that, again, you can back up and do other things. You can just go right into other stances. You can use this to just kind of poke, go about your business. The real danger out of this though, however, is can-cans. You press 3+4, and she does that. That will counter hit launch any button they press. This is super fast, low-high counter hit launcher. As long as it's made contact and you press 3+4, they cannot challenge you. They'll get launched. So they're going to learn real fast. Do not press buttons against Izumo. Period. Don't press buttons. So in addition to the can-cans that beat all challenger buttons and launch them, you also have throws out of Izumo. You press the opposite corner buttons, 1+4 and 2+3 for some reason. It results in the same throw, but it's just as fast as the can-cans. And if they try to mash buttons in there, it'll beat them, and they're not going to be able to break that. If they're trying to counterattack your Izumo, just do can-cans. Throws are just for part of your mix-up game. They can try to sidewalk if they want to. They could try to backdash, but they pretty much have to hold your mix-up. And if you want to go for the hard mix-up, you've got launchers and stuff. If you don't, you can go right for, offense looping stuff. Pretty cool. Very versatile stance, but has a little bit of inherent risk to get started. There's 3 pseudo stances we've talked about so far. One is Whiplash, just this forward 1 number right here. That's all that is. It's just a mini stance. Got a couple of options. One of them is 3. You can see that flips them up in the air. This is a safe mid. Boink. And it has its own extension, which is 3-1. Boink. See that little jab right there? Notice how that jab floated him for a combo. So if that lands as a counter hit, you get the whole combo off of that, which is pretty cool. And that jab is your normal jab. You can do anything you can do out of a 1 jab, which includes 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, all of that. So you can do 1-1-3, 1-1-3 all day. This loops. It's not airtight. Obviously, there's highs in there. She's a Tekken 2 character, and these characters that were added to that game were meant to loop crazy stuff like this. So her Whiplash Combo is a really basic way to start doing some of that stuff. So that's just the 3. The 3 is a counter hit launcher. So is the 4. The 4 is can-cans. So if they happen to press a button in the middle of that, they get counter hit launched. So to tie that together, there's down 4. This great big low, super risky low. I feel like they can just block that. My mindset against June's has always been to just block the low. Just block this no matter what. If they happen to go for the can-cans, you'll also duck that, and you can launch her for both of those. You just eat the mid. So what if I eat the mid? Big deal. But it's up to you how you want to play that. Again, risk is on her for a lot of these situations. But you can cancel that low. You can hold down back and cancel that low, and then go for low again, right? The choices are yours there. That mental hesitation from canceling this, tons of options can come out of that. So that's just Whiplash. 3, 4, and down 4 are your options. And 3-1 lets you loop right back into jab so you can do it all over again. Leg cutter, we've mentioned this down back 4 kick, which we can also access out of your 1 jabs, right? So you can do right there, a Whiplash into leg cutter by using the jab as a loop. Leg cutter has a couple options as well. You can do up to 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. And then she'll stop. The second and the third ones are able to launch on counter hit. Right? She can pick that up for a combo. The first one cannot do that. So be aware that if you want to go for the second and third one and not get low parried, you might catch them doing something wrong. But otherwise, you can do a mid there. Leg cutter 3 is a mid launcher. If that lands just right, you can get a combo from it. Very cool. And your other option is White Heron Dance, 1+4. That same string that lets you get all your stance options, right? You can do that out of leg cutter. The risk here is that it's low, low, high. You can see the computer's automatically ducking it. Doing leg cutter to White Heron Dance is low, low, high. So you can do stuff like that, and that's like 5 highs right in a row. Little bit risky, but again, you have to do this stuff once in a while to keep them guessing. So leg cutter 3 is pretty reliable. That's nice. They can try to sidestep out of that or parry it or whatever, but they're not going to make the right move every single time. You're going to do this once in a while, and do the second low and screw them up. You gotta throw it out there a little bit to see what they do. So leg cutter mini stance has a mid launcher in it. You can loop the leg cutters, or you can loop it into white heron dance. So lastly, the white heron dance 1+4. This string that we talked about sets up your basic stances, is a stance of its own. You have 2-1, 2-1, and you guessed it, that 1 is a jab. See, there's Whiplash Combo. 2-1, 1-4. You can do this loop. Right? You can just do that over and over again. That's another 1 jab loop in there. White heron dance, 2-1. Again, that's 4 highs in a row. Good luck getting away with that. The key to white heron dance is if they're up close, it'll jail. If you're close enough, this will jail them into block. The low hits them, and they'll block that high. If you're far enough away like that, they can just duck jab whatever you do out of the stance. So don't be doing white heron dance from out here. They are going to instinctively duck it and just tag you no matter what you do. Up here, they got to hold that. They can duck the next 2, but this jailing up close is pretty important. So 2-1, you got all that jab stuff and looping out of. 2-4 is a mid. Knocks down, splats to the wall, but that's launch punishable on block for some reason. And 2, down 4. This is a launcher. If they happen to go through all that and make a bad decision, you can get a whole combo off of that. So that's what they're going to look out for most of the time, is they want to block that low. That low that you cannot cancel. So they're going to kind of fish for that against you. And you can use that to their advantage, right? And do other stuff. Never do the low. As long as you kind of like have them in fear of the low, just that one time, they're going to block that low forever. So you can get away with some mid stuff. So all that stuff we mentioned was high. You can do white heron dance 3. Right away, the next hit's a mid, but it's kind of slow. You can do this one and hit the mid. And this is the one that you can charge up. Turns into an unblockable, which they're not going to fall for. But you never know sometimes. It's worth a shot every once in a while. The 1+4, 3 is a mid. Very useful to keep it all together. Not to mention, you can go into your stances from this. You can sidestep, Izumo, and Genjitsu. That's what it's used for mostly. You can do this loop sequence and go into that. You can do, whiplashes, you can do leg cutters and go into that and other stances. So if you sit there and look at the math of how much you can loop this stuff, it's kind of crazy. Izumo lets you go into leg cutter lets you go into white heron dance. White heron dance lets you go into all of them and back and forth and back and forth. And anything that has a jab in it lets you go into whiplash, which lets you go into another jab and lets you go into another whiplash or leg cut, etc., etc., etc. So if you want to just party time, that's what she was built to do in Tekken 2. This game, you got to be a little bit smarter about it. But like I said, throw it out there and see if it sticks. If they don't react well, keep doing it. If they do start blocking and ducking well, play it safe and back off like we talked about in the beginning. So that's offense in a nutshell. That's tools that you have with built-in mix-ups, of which there are plenty for this character, and you have basic pokes which set up those good tools, and then the tools that go into your stances, where your stances get really dangerous, and they all represent a sense of looping offense, that you can go back into a jab and go start over and represent another low, represent another frame trap, etc., etc. Keep hitting the stick. Or you could just be safe and simple and just sidestep this and just back off, right? Keep them guessing. That sense of offense is not including you just stopping, right? We're talking about just going and looping and hitting and flipping and this, and you could just, poke and stop for a second. Then go back in and poke again, stop, right? Keep messing with their timing. That's what it's all about. So defense in this game and in Tekken in general is not really like a character-specific sort of topic. It's more of a mindset. I'm going to block all day, and I'm going to try to block lows as best I can. I'm going to try to interrupt them with my own attack, so I know when I block something, I can just hop kick them. Or I'm going to try to sidestep whenever I can to avoid their mix-ups. Or I'm Lars, and I'm going to use Lightning Screw that just goes through everything, or whatever it might be, right? So let's look at the tools she has that can do that, and you can pick how you want to play defense. Do you want to just block? Okay, we have this. Do you want to try to do like evasive moves and turn the tides on them? We got this. So first up is punishers. If you're going to block all day, you got to learn how to punish. Anytime your opponent does something that has really bad recovery, and you can hit them for free, you need to do so. So that starts at 10 frames. Anything that's minus 10 can get punished by her jab. 1-2 string, guaranteed punish, and these can go into her stances, as we've mentioned. So anything they do that's jab punishable. Tons of stuff in the game is jab punishable. You get a 1-2, and you get a free stance mix-up out of it. That's just dangerous. The damage is low. Jin at 10 frames can wall splat you. His 2-4 knocks you down and splats you to the wall and all that. June doesn't get that, but she gets offense, which I think is more important. 1-2 in a stance and 1-2 in a sidestep, I think is invaluable. Anytime they make a mistake, 1-2 into here it comes, you know, that's worth it. 12 frames, we got 2-1. This is a nice bit of damage and it's good frame advantage for that, but you could just stick to 1-2 and run stance if you want, right? The difference of 11 damage is not huge necessarily, but opponents can get antsy sometimes and you do have these strings. Once in a while, maybe you throw out the rest of it and see how they react. So that's another layer you want to use sometimes. Again, we talked about the string is not great, but it's there. You can add that onto your Punisher if you want to, or just stick to 1-2 offense, which is both good. 14 frames, back 4-2 is good. This is great damage, hit confirmable, so you don't actually technically have to get it wrong. You should be good. Back 4-2 is great. You can also use back 2-1 here. Because it's a 14 frame startup, this is guaranteed to hit. And we talked about getting hit is great for going into stances. They can't duck this if it's a punish. So that's probably your only opportunity to really use back 2-1. However, even when this hits and you go into Genjitsu, not that good. The frames are not in your favor. This move just sucks. This is the best place to use it, and it kind of sucks. But it is there. If you know you got a minus 14, you can use this guy and take the longer route into your stance and think for a second. That can be useful. 15, she doesn't have a launcher. There's no standing launcher for June in this game at 15. 16, she has up forward 4-3, her hop kick, which causes an automatic bound, and so you get sort of a mitigated combo on top of that. 17 frames is forward 2. You're not going to see 17 on block too often, but if you do, that's an option for a much bigger combo. This is more of a whiff punisher, to be honest, but it's there. So when somebody says launch punishable, it doesn't technically mean that to June. If it means 15, she does not get a launcher. She has to stick to that or something. 16, she gets her launch. So you got to learn the distinction there. You got to learn what stuff is exactly 16 or not, so you don't get screwed up there. You don't want to just keep doing this and getting punished yourself because you thought it was a launch and it's not for June. And that's the way it is. Crouch punishing, her while standing 4 is 11 frames and knocks down, which is very good. That's not every character has that. Knockdown is good. 14 frames is the next one she has, though. There's no 12 or 13 or whatever. 14 frames while standing 2-1. This does a nice chunk of damage. It knocks down the wall splats. So if you're near the wall, while standing 4 won't do it. While standing 2-1 is nice for the wall splat. That's very handy if you happen to get that. Launching, again, there's nothing at 15. She can't do anything at 15. She has to do the hop kick. Whoops. Because it's an up forward input, you can do that out of crouch at 16 frames. So again, a blocked low that's 15, June can't launch it. She needs 16 to do that. And if you get a big, heavy stagger block, like a hell sweep or something, while standing 3. This is 19 frames, but it doesn't matter when you have a big stagger block. Hold nice combo, which is backwards. Has some fun caveats to it. Reset potential and all that. Backwards combos are kind of cool for June. So that's it for crouching. Same thing. Not very good. A knockdown 11, which is great, and you can't launch until 16, so you kind of got to deal with that. That's all you get. Or you're relying on blocking for your defense. Your punishment game is not great, so just be careful of doing that all day, right? That's telling you want to get back in there a little bit more often. That's telling you you're in better position by going a little bit more offensively and just using your defense sparingly. But it's up to you. As far as whiff punishing, forward 2 is one of the best in the game. If they stop in your half of the screen, you nailed them. That's all there is to it. You own this half of the screen because of that move. And if you think you missed it, you can bail out by just holding down, which is very cool. Right? You got lots of options with that. If you're up close and you get like a clean sidestep or something, sidestep 2 is obviously one good whiff punish. Back 4-2 is good in a pinch. This is a nice punisher in a pinch, just in the middle of stuff. If you weren't like ready for a full launch, but you know they just did something bad, like just catch that. If you're up close right here, you're maybe not thinking about forward 2 punishing, but they did just like whiff, you can tag them with that much more quickly, I think. So that's blocking. If you would rather get them off of you with your fists, you have defensive counter hits, and these are pretty good for June. Defensive counter hits are the type where they are pressuring you and you counterattack at the right moment and try to stuff them. If they overextend themselves, like I talked in the beginning, you don't do. If they decide to do that, you got counter hits to stop them. So 4 right away. 4 right away is great. This is an 11 frame magic 4. It's just a very hard combo. This is really hard to convert and pick up into a whole combo. You're going to spend days practicing that, and it's not going to be reliable. Because they're a little bit further away, it's even harder. I tend to just get my combo there and just do a 2 and call it a day, right? That's enough. I'll just do that and live on rather than get nothing by dropping that combo all the time. If I miss that, it's not worth it, but it's there. So when they're pressuring you and harassing you, you got 11 frame, get off me. Always remember that. Still a good tool, just a hard combo to convert. Not a big deal. Down 3+4 is almost as good. This is only 14 frames. That's not a lot slower. And it's a low high that beats other lows. She's airborne, hits you with the low, and then she's airborne and hits you with the high. And if that low is a counter hit, launcher, done for. This is one of the best miracle moves in the game, in my opinion. This is the ultimate get away from me and pay the huge price for it. The airborne low and all of that is just tremendous property. It's fast. 1+2 is also fast. This is 12 frames. This is a little bit different because that stun, they can tech out of it. You would see people do this and go for that launch, which is there. But if they tech out of that stun, they're going to block your forward 2. They're only in a crumply state for so long, and then they can stand up and block out of it. If they do that, they will block your forward 2, and they will launch you for doing it. So instead of that, do forward 4. If they fail to tech, you still get your combo, right? This is still... Right? You get a combo from that, and if they don't, if they tech out and they just block, that's +3, and you get to run offense from there. So you're taking no risks. The beginning June player is like, oh, this is so cool. Huge risk. Don't go for it. Just go for forward 3 instead. Much better. So those are, right away, really good defensive counter hits. One of the fastest moves in the game. One of the best panic moves in the game. A little bit of an interesting caveat with 1+2. And forward 4 I want to mention. Forward 4 is a cool move. I like it a lot. It's a fun, just booming kick. This is really bad on block for some reason. It's risky. If they set you up, they're going to block it and hit you back pretty hard, but I just think it's a cool move. I just like it. It'll hit in that grounded state a lot. I think it's just a fun move, so it's worth mentioning. Much better out here to stop their approach. Rather than them pressuring you, stick to this. If you're trying to keep them away from you, that works a little bit better. So that's your options to get them away from you offensively. You have moves that can evade. If you want to try to stick to moves that are like, oh, I'll just go over. They keep coming up and hit me with down 4s, or they just run up and jab all the time. You can go over or under some things. So there's a whole list of these in the Google Doc. A list of, these are all the moves that have low crush properties versus ones with high crush properties. Basically, are you crouching or are you jumping? So there's things like up 4, obviously you're jumping, that beats lows. Back 3, a little bit difficult, but this generally beats a lot of low pokes and some jabs and stuff. So all of those are in the Google Doc. Go check them out. We don't need to cover them all. Just, that's your list. If you want to say, what are my moves that beats lows? I want to be able to just like blow them up for duck jabbing. There's your list. Same with going under highs. Things like forward 2. This goes under highs and stuff very well. Your down back lows, all of these things go under highs. So that list is in the doc. Just check them out rather than seeing what they do. They're just normal moves, right? This happens to be jabs. If you think they jab a lot, you can kind of do this and get away with it. A lot of people will just like to do a jab and take their turn. Like if I do this and they blocked it, a lot of players will just jab and take their turn because that's their fastest move. Well, if you do this, you're going to beat that jab. So these are useful moves to be able to go over and under stuff like that. But that's all they do, is they happen to have that unique property. They're not new moves. We already talked about all these moves. So check them out in the doc. Your other choice for going over or under is going sideways. Your sidestep is very good defensively. You can just sidestep and hit him with 2. On counter hit, you get that great big knockback. And 4 is a counter hit launcher. If you sidestep and they whiff, you hit them with that. Boom, no problem. If you sidestep and they did nothing, you do this, and you get the frame trap. And if they happen to do something in the last minute counter hit, even better. So that's your evasion in 3 dimensions. You also have the ability to try to just flip it on them. You have reversals. June has a classic Tekken 2 style reversal. You press back plus either throw buttons, and it'll reverse what they're doing. Grab their hand or their arm or whatever. This only works on highs and mids. This is the classic rules. It doesn't work on elbows and headbutts and shoulders and laser beams and stuff. High and mid, punches and kicks is all that works. And that's majority of moves in the game, right? Most moves are punches and kicks. But you got Yoshimitsu and his sword, or you got, Brian and his Muay Thai elbows. You can't reverse some of that stuff, so be warned. But your reversal is really good. You grab it. You can tag this as well. She has a taggable reversal, which is kind of weird. Nobody else can do that. A lot of the classic characters like Paul and Nina and stuff, they have the same reversal, but hers is taggable, which is very neat. I don't think you get anything. I think you're even. They're just like, whoa, what's going on here? And then it's too late, right? You can do that move. Tag in Kazuya. Hell sweep. Before they even realize what was going on, right? That can be very cool sometimes. And she also has 2+3. This is a punch parry. This is a Sabaki punch parry. Right? Does that and you get a knockdown off the ground. Only works on punches. I don't think it matters if it's high or mid or whatever. This is just for punches. You can hit them off the ground. You might be able to relaunch them because they're in that weird backwards thing. There's a lot of weird Oki situations in this game where you hit them in the back and they might get launched. So play around with that. You get to say, if you just hit them with that, it's the same thing. The parry is it's called a Sabaki parry because it's just, I don't know what that means, but the result is their move didn't exist. You just go about doing whatever it was you were going to do after you ate up their move. Right? The move, this is what June's going to do. You punching is irrelevant. Like, get that punch out of my way. I'm kicking you like this. So you can just practice this and see what your options are. That's kind of cool for a good punch. Like, again, if you have an opponent that every time they take their turn, they want to jab, punch parry. That's a very good option. Last thing I want to touch on is being at mid-range. Just very briefly, some things that change up a little bit when you're further away. Obviously, your 1-2 jabs are not as good out here and stuff like that. But there's two mindsets. There's either stay out here and catch a breather for a minute or wait for them to make a mistake or get back in and go on your offense. So in the first case, if you want to stay out here and see what they do, you got your defensive counter hits that we just talked about. 4, down 3+4, and 1+2. Very good. This is a good spot for your forward 4 that I like. If they're coming at you real quick, you can just pop with one of those and stop them in their tracks real fast. I like that move a lot for that. So those counter hits will get you the huge rewards if they did something. Usually players aren't going to just run at you in a straight line and try to hit you, right? It's too obvious. We've seen way too many movies where the dude just steps to the side and they crash through the wall, you know? It's Bugs Bunny cartoon level stuff. So a lot of people are going to just run up to you and stop. So keep that in mind. You don't want to go for all the marbles, but just going for that is pretty reliable, right? You can use those counter hits to your advantage. Otherwise, you got stuff like forward 2-3 that really starts to shine out here, and the forward 2-2 counterpart. These are excellent out here because you can do them pretty quickly. Bang, just like that. Or you can stretch it out. Because it's a dash, you can cover that whole distance with it if you want to. So out here, that range really comes in handy. Forward 2-3 can be a much better weapon. As is forward 3 because of that homing property, safe mid. That's downtown. That's really good. Keep off of me. I want to stay out here for a second. Stop your approach type of move, and it's safe. Forward 1+2 again. We talked about these and your big hits. These are better out here because of their range, and that's a relatively slow move. But like if they're coming at you, sure, throw that out, right? You might get a combo. Who knows? It's free. Go for it. But the best move I think overall out here is up forward 3. This is a great. Just keep away from me. You don't risk anything. It beats lows. Counter hit launcher. This is a really good move all around. I think this is a nice keep off me tool. It's right up there with just doing 4, right? This is mid though. So either one you want to do. These are just stop it. You stay back there. Stop trying to hit me. One of these moves is going to catch you. Those are really good for that. So those are just some of your moves that shine. Everything else is less useful, right? Like forward 4 is not as good out here anymore. It's too far away. And if you want to get back in, you have a couple of options. Your basic running 3 situation is still pretty good. This game has a bad habit of tracky running 3s. June's is not the worst offender. That gets sidestepped pretty well. But your primary get-in tools are forward 2, canceled into crouch, and while standing 1+2, canceled into crouch. Those are dangerous. Those are just like, okay, she's doing that Tooth Fairy move, or what's it called in this game? Demon Slayer. She's doing that Demon Slayer, all of a sudden she's not, and she's hitting you with something else. That cancel is really good for getting in on them. If they're ready, they can hit you, but I promise you this will cause some hesitation. Doing these moves and canceling will make them hesitate for just a second. And if it doesn't, that way you know then your opponent is not reacting, or your opponent is just flying. They're not waiting to see what you do. They're just trying to jam you immediately, and you can use that to your advantage. That tells you they're of like a jam you up mindset. If they see this move and they hit you out of the cancel, it's because they are proactively trying to hit you. Right? So use that information in the future. Okay, I know every time I do something, they try to hit me out of it. use these quick counter hits that I have. That's a good indicator of their playstyle. If they let you get away with this, then you know you got it. You can run for mix-ups or whatever. And then sometimes just let it rip. Just hit it. It's safe on block anyway. And if they did act in the worst time, like, oh, I want to hit her, but they took too long, counter. So you got to balance those back and forth, this character. You got to play it smart and do what works in the situation more than anything. So I think that pretty much covers it. That's neutral game plan, that's offensive moves and stances, and that's defensive tools. Absolutely check out the Google Doc linked in the description. It has all of these things labeled and color-coded and frame data and details for your reference. Just learn stuff a little bit at a time. Spend a day, work on your punishes. Spend a day working on Izumo stance. Go play a couple of matches with your boys and see what they react to, right? Develop game plans. That's what it's all about. So that's most of the information I can provide. Hopefully that helps a little bit. If any other questions about strategy or stuff like that, just hit me up down in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Make sure you click the follow and subscribe and the like and the notification bell and all that stuff for more videos in the future. There'll be plenty of stuff coming on, especially June related, as much as I can. So hopefully I will see you out there in those videos. And until then, later.